Huh? We're here. It's time. We're live. I can't see my chat, but whatever. All right, guys, let's get into this. Let's get into today's stream. Today we got yet another No Face Reloaded video, bro. This nigga, he's killing these videos. All right, you foodos, you jumping into the stream today, you foods, or what? Jumping in the stream today with Papa Monks? Huh? Jumping in the stream today with me, guys? Yeah. Okay. Let's learn everything we need to know about Iran. Let's do it. We got another Face Reloaded video today, so let's get into it. Let me make sure I press record.
Holy sh! The world's falling apart. Oh my God, we're losing control. We're losing control. I don't know about you, but I'm having the time of my life. We're going to war. Question is, you ready to die?
Not
you know,
really.
we're gonna get shipped out there to the mountains of Iran. Yeah.
Listen, if you get called up for the draft, there's only two ways you can get out of it. Either you're or you're a botty ass nigga, bro. That's the only way you can get out. I know in the Middle East, there's places where if you show you're botty enough, they won't let you go to war. They say no, this thing is maximum botty boy. Don't let him anywhere near war things. You gotta send video proof though. That's how crazy it is in some places in the Middle East. If you want to avoid going to war, like I said, there's only two ways. Either you're mentally inept or you're on your knees doing the bottiest things. God damn.
Yeah, fat Americans all over the country are gonna get rounded up. No more gooning. Remember that. I want you to remember.
No more good. The gooning and fapping stops today.
When Israel decides it's time for you to die in the mountains of Iran, remember what they took away from you, fat American guy. Fat American guy, no more Hot Pockets in Iran. The typical fat American guy, loser, is a very simple guy. He wants to sit back, eat a Hot Pocket, blast out acidic farts all day. After work, smoke a blunt, pop a perk, or whatever way you choose to sedate yourself, and then you want to sit down, blast another acidic fart, and then just goon for hours and repeat the same process all over again. That's getting taken away from you.
God damn, you Americans are nasty. Nasty, nasty. All you want to do all day is fart and goon and fart and goon and fart? Goon and fart and fart and goon and fart? Come on, man.
Remember who took this away from you as a proud American. The simple pleasures, the simple joys of being an American, being fat, being lazy, eating Hot Pockets, watching porn for hours is getting taken away because a foreign nation decided it's time for you to die in the mountains of Iran.
Allah Akbar!
That's why. And by the way, we've been lied to this entire time. We got the strongest military in the world. We have technology the world has not even seen yet here in America. Why the fuck is Iran bombing the shit out of all our military interests in the region? How is it possible that Iran...
They are doing it because they want to resist the goy that is America. That's why they said anybody who has any ties with America, anybody who talks to an American is getting the angels of death dropped on their heads.
Is bombing all our military bases all across the Middle East. They're bombing the UAE at will. Habibi, come to Dubai! Habibi, come to Dubai! Israel is getting pulverized. How is this possible? Have we been scammed this entire time, paying $1 trillion a year into the military so we can get this super high-tech military-grade weapons? $2 million interceptor missiles, $10 million this missile, hypersonic $50,000 million missile.
Bro, all these missiles don't mean a squat diddly, bro. No diddy. Because Iran is producing so much missiles at such a cheap cost, like some sort of Willy Wonka chocolate factory, that's like $15,000 to $20,000 per missile, bro. Simple, cheap thing. Whilst the Americans and the UAE have to send interceptor missiles to stop the missiles from destroying their thing. Like we're playing a game of Civilization or Civilization Raiders. You know what I mean? And each interceptor missile costs $2 million. Now you do the math. You do the math, you goy.
And they're all shit. Meanwhile, Iran, $20,000 for this drone. I don't care. This cheap missile from 1985. I don't care. Shoot that. Missile, another missile. We make this missile in my backyard. I don't care. And they're all landing and they're all destroying all our fucking shit in the Middle East. What the fuck? Yeah. Why is Iran blasting out $15,000, $20,000 drones and America shooting up $6 million worth of interceptor missiles to take them out? How could this have happened? And Perkhead, Pill Pop, and Marco Rubio, he said it the other day. It takes us 1 month to get 100 interceptor missiles. Meanwhile, Iran, they're blasting out, they're manufacturing 1,000 rockets, 1,000 missiles per month. What the fuck have we been doing this entire time?
Why y'all niggas letting Mark Rubio do the math, bro? This nigga can't. You popping so many perks, he's getting loosey-goosey. You see the interview? They had that same interview. They had asked him the question about the war, right? And then 24 hours later, he asked the same similar question, and he diverts the question and creates a completely new fabricated answer. And then he has the audacity to ask the interviewee person, "Oh, were you there yesterday when I answered this question?" And the lady proceeds to say, "Yes, I was." Meaning, in less than 24 hours, Mark Rubio forgot who the fuck he was talking about, bro. What a footy!
No, because how is it possible that Iran can manufacture all these drones? They have 80,000 drones, apparently. And they have drone and missile manufacturers running 24 hours, pumping out 1,000 missiles a month, according to Marco Rubio. And they're hitting military bases, they're hitting ports, they're raining down, they're shitting all over Israel. Tel Aviv is a disaster right now. The situation in Israel is horrifying from what I'm hearing. Buildings have been toppled, the streets are a disaster up in flames. Military assets are getting bombed, ports are getting bombed. You look at all the radars all across the Middle East, they're getting crushed and destroyed by Iranian missiles and drones. No one can stop it. What the fuck is going on over here? We got the greatest army in the world. I saw a...
Iran doesn't know what's gonna hit them. All our missiles, they're strong. They're strong. We have the strongest missiles. We have the strongest army. The military-industrial complex in America is very strong. It's very strong. They don't know, but they might know. They'll know one day. Listen, and it's crazy because a lot of these influencers in the Middle East, they're shooting all this content. They're telling you, "Oh, it's safe. It's safe out here in Dubai. It's safe." Shut up.
Video yesterday of America and Israel doing airstrikes in Iran, and they were hitting these military equipment, these helicopters and these planes, and then you blast them with a missile, and the propellers of the helicopter doesn't move an inch, and you're thinking to yourself, how is that possible?
Damn.
How does a missile drop onto a helicopter? We're seeing the silhouette of the helicopter.
These helicopters are protected by Allah by himself, bro. Even the powers of Sheikh Khan himself cannot stop what's going on right now, dude.
And the bomb drops, is a massive explosion, and the propeller doesn't move a single inch. Oh, apparently it was just a painting on the ground. The Iranians painted a helicopter, and the dumb Americans with the best military in the world, they were bombing it, and nothing happened.
Allah Akbar!
Again, it's all been a massive scam this entire time. We've been dumping $1 trillion into the military year after year. The Pentagon gets audited every single year, and they fail the audit. Money just goes missing. No one knows where the money...
So the Pentagon can fail the fucking audit, but when civilians get audited and you fail it, you're going to spend 4 years behind bars? $38 trillion in debt? And all the money's going to the military industrial complex, and you niggas can't hit a fucking real helicopter? Somebody call Andy Warhol.
Yes, it's just missing, it disappears. Every single year this happens. And we've been buying all these piece of shit missiles, all this expensive equipment, high military grade, high-tech military grade stuff. We got the best army in the world. So how is it that Iran is keeping up with our military and in some cases even beating the fuck out of us? How does that make any sense? And
bro, the U.S. is gonna lose this war, dog. God damn it, dude. The demise of the American civilization, grand national superpower that is the West. We are watching it fall in real time.
How do they pump out so much military grade stuff for 1/10 of the price? How does that work as well? Why is it that China, Russia, Iran, they can blast out all this equipment that is just as good as ours? Let's just be honest. It's just as good as ours. Stop with the propaganda. Stop being programmed. We're witnessing the reality right now as we speak. The reality is that Russia, China, and Iran have military equipment just as good as ours. That is the reality. So right now, while Iran is bombing all the key military interests all across the Middle East, wrecking America, wrecking Israel, and burning up the entirety of the Middle East.
Look at that interceptor missile.
America and Israel, we got the best military in the world. They're bombing paintings. They're going into Iran, and they're going to the cities, and they're killing innocent women and children. They're bombing buildings with families inside of them, and innocent women and children are getting cremated all over again. We got the best military in the world. Fat-ass Donald Trump, that cheeseburger. Look at Donald Trump, too. Look at the guy.
Bro, the crazy thing about this is that Russia and those powers that be, they want America to jump into the war right now. They want America to go full-blown war. Because if America goes full-blown war, they have to retreat the resources that they have sitting in Russia, helping Ukraine, and that will allow Russia to completely dominate and take over Ukraine. Because that's an easy thing for them over there. They take over Ukraine in their sleep. The only thing that's stopping them is the help from the U.S. military that is helping the Ukrainians right now. But as soon as the U.S. takes away their power from there and has to fully converge on Iran, Russia's like, yo, Ukraine is mine. Give me that. Stole that shit.
That disgusting wet cheeseburger of a thing. Melting. The guy's literally melting on camera. He's sleeping. He's tired. Oh, that disgusting swollen ankles, swollen feet, purple stains on his arms, rashes all over. Neck is melting off. We got the best military in the world. Give me another.
I'm not sick. I'm not sick. I'm just taking a lot of meds right now. I'm not sick. Just going through a lot right now.
Oh, God, we don't want to drink another Coke. We got the best military in the world. Give me a hot dog with cheeseburger. Best military in the world. We're such a goddamn joke.
Rubio
at this point,
with
Iran
the
has proven
Perkios.
to be the most rational actor in the entirety of the Middle East. I don't care what anybody says. Iran has proven themselves time and time and time again to be willing to work with the U.S. Time and time again, they've shown their willingness to cooperate with America and cooperate with the entirety of the world. But no, America and Israel wants them to get on their knees and start slurping them up like all the bitches in the Gulf states. Like all those pathetic leaders all in the Gulf states with all that money. Look at them now. Look at them now, all alone and afraid. Lone and scared and afraid on the brink of collapse. America abandoned them. Look at them now, pathetic. At the will and mercy of Iran. If Iran wanted today, they can finish off the entirety of the Middle East. All these Gulf states with all that oil money could be evaporated today if Iran wanted to. And there's nothing America can do about it, and there's nothing Israel can do about it. We have the best military in the world. Everybody bought into it. They all bought into the scam of the American military and their money.
Whilst in the background, Iran was getting themselves ready. They were building the factories. They were doing everything they needed to do. Allah Akbar! They were just going at it. They say, God, please help us. Give us all we need to help you, bro. And the thing with Iran is that the niggas that are in Iran, bro, they're willing to die. They're willing to die for God, for their cause. Huh? They are willing, bro. Inshallah, my nigga. Alhamdulillah, bro. They're willing to die for their cause, bro. America said, no, come slurp it up. They said, no, not happening, bro. We're going to take you out piece by piece and completely humiliate you. And it's happening right now. Shout out to Iran. Shout out to Iran, my niggas. Yo, Iran is putting on a fucking clinic. Iran is putting on a clinic. Listen, guys, at the end of, when it really comes down to it, at the end of the day, war is bad. Okay? War is not good. War doesn't help anybody. No one wins from this. When it really comes down, I don't even want to see Americans go to war and see them, because this is like, you're talking about people's actual fucking families. You know what I mean? You're talking about people's families. Like, these are people's families we're talking about. We're talking about people's literal families. 1 second, guys. I gotta go, I go hard. I gotta, sorry, that's fucking, what's his name? I got this, what's her name? Krayshawn stuck in my head, bro. What's this video, guys? Oh, it's just me dealing with myself. I gotta boom, 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 boom. I go hard. Okay, let's get into the rest of these videos. No, we can delete this folder actually. All right, let's get into the next video, gang.
All right, guys.
Something about breaking points tells me that you guys are gonna fuck up my shit. I could just feel it in the back of my mind. It's because they're dirty like that, man. Niggas are dirty like that. If I have extra time, I'll come back to you guys after the fact. But dude,
I hope everyone had a nice break, and welcome back to the end of the world. So as you know, World War III has started. The United States.
Professor Jiang, why are you so dark, nigga?
And Israel have started to attack Iran.
Welcome back.
And we are now in the 4th day of this war. And we can expect this war.
Oh no, my tech team's in Israel. The war's only going to last 48 hours. Oh, the war ain't shit. Oh, fucking Tate.
To last
Goofy.
For many weeks, possibly also for many years. But I promise you that after this war is done, the world will never be the same again. So what we will do these next few weeks is use game theory and understand and analyze the geopolitical situation. And so I'm going to teach you the ideas, the theories, the techniques to understand the world around you and make predictions. And we can know if our analysis is correct because all this is happening in real time, and so we can test it against reality.
All right, let's get into it.
So let's go over some basic facts about what's happened so far. So in the early morning of Saturday in Tehran, the Israelis and Americans launched a decapitation strike against
Allahu Akbar!
the Ayatollah Khamenei, who is the supreme leader of Iran. Now, there are arguments and disputes about as to what happened. The Americans and Israelis said that they had real intelligence about where the leader was, and so they sent airplanes to just bomb the crap out of the place. They also had a spy who was able to record the body of the dead Ayatollah, and then this was announced. At first, the Iranians denied this, and the Iranians insisted he was still alive, but eventually, state media admitted that he did die in the airstrike. But then what they also said is that the Ayatollah, he's 86 years old, and he chose to die.
Lies. Fucking lies.
He could have gone to Moscow, but instead he chose to stay in Tehran and die for his people. But not only that, but he died along many of his relatives. He died along with his...
The narrative that you want to create is always going to be BS. Do not let the news and the media deter you and make you believe what they're spewing on the television, bro. Make sure you fact check everything. Even after you watch my video, fact check the information in it, because the news, there's a fucking war going on, and the news has the audacity to put up a fucking graphic. A graphic with the world and then Iran flag and Trump and Putin. And you're gonna tell me we're in the middle of a goddamn war and you niggas have time to go in Photoshop and make a fucking graphic? The fuck?
His daughter, his son-in-law, his grandchildren. So many of the family died in this assault. Also, there's been reporting that he had prostate cancer. Okay, so he was going to die fairly soon as well. So what you need to understand first about the war is that even though the Americans and Israelis
They want it, if they don't make him out to be a bad guy, then people will be like, well, why are we going into war then? He's not even that bad. Okay, fine. So then let's create the narrative that Iran has nuclear weapons and that this guy, the leader of Iran, their supreme leader, he's a bad guy, and he was already sick, and now he's dying, and we've made progress in that sense. It's all BS. It's all bullshit. They need some sort of propaganda story to feed you, to make you go, hoorah, let's go to war. When we all know war is bullshit.
He's claimed great success in decapitating the leadership of the Iranians. From the Iranian perspective, this is a martyrdom, okay? And so the religion of the Iranians is called Shia Muslim. And this is different from Sunni Muslim. So Sunnis are the majority. They're about 9% of all Muslims in the world. The Shia have always been the minority. And as such, they've always been persecuted. So in the Shia faith, the core value, the force that binds everyone together and gives them purpose and meaning in life, that galvanizes them into action, is the idea of martyrdom, which forces jihad. To sacrifice yourself for your religion, sacrifice yourself for the common good.
Allahu Akbar!
So think of the death of Khamenei as a sacrifice, a self-sacrifice, in order to motivate the Iranians in this war, okay? So that's the first thing you need to understand. That for the Iranians, this is not a geopolitical war. This is not an economic war. This is not a war of resistance. This is a jihad, okay? It's a war against the great Satan to avenge their leader. They will fight to the death. All right, that's number one. Number two is this.
That's what I was saying.
Also that morning, when the Ayatollah was killed, there's
Exactly. How are you going to defeat somebody who was literally willing to die for God, bro? You can't defeat that. It's like the idea of the Vikings. They wanted to die in battle so they can go to Valhalla, bro. How are you going to defeat somebody that is fighting in the name of God and sees anybody trying to oppose them as Shaitan, the devil himself? You can't win. The same way niggas couldn't beat the Nazis when the Nazis were invading all the European countries. It's because the niggas were high on meth and they said, we are doing this because it's what we believe. You can't beat a nigga that has the will and strength of either methamphetamines or God.
really struck a school in the south of Tehran, killing about 150 school children. These are girls in primary school. And again, there's a lot of debate and argument as to what happened. The Israelis said that, first of all, the school was next to a military base. We were targeting a military base.
Bro, the bullshit.
And second of all, it wasn't us which struck the school. It was a air defense missile that went off course. Okay? And the Iranians insisted no. The Israelis purposefully attacked the school to kill the school children. Oof. And then you're like, why would the Israelis do that? Well, then these few years, well, we've seen what they've done in Gaza, in Palestine, to the Palestinians. And it's pretty consistent what the Israelis have been doing. All right? So this action against the Israelis, it's meant to show to themselves and the world that we are now all in. Okay? We've made the sacrifice. We are now committed to this war, to winning this war at all costs. And this action has also provoked the Iranian people to resist with their full might. Okay? So I want you to keep this in mind. And again, we don't have complete evidence that it's the Israelis who did this, but given past actions from the Israelis, this is fairly consistent with what they've done. Okay? So we can assume that this is something the Israelis did. Why they did this, what the purpose is something we will discuss as we move on. Okay? It's very complicated. Yeah. Next, I want to show you this. This is Dubai. And Dubai is considered one of the wealthiest, safest cities in the world.
Yeah, not anymore. Ever since the airport was bombed, not just anywhere in the airport. The main entrance of the airport was bombed, okay? And all the little civilians that were there, the other side, oh, it's time to escape Dubai. $300,000 for a jet to get out of Dubai, all right? If you don't got that, there's commercial airliners coming in and out, but it's a slow process. People are now living in the underground parking of airports and underground parking of malls, shitting in bags because they decided, let's go to Dubai. Wrong.
There are thousands, tens of thousands of Westerners who move to Dubai because it's clean, you don't pay any taxes, you make a lot of money. and they're a great
The only reason niggas should be in Dubai is niggas who have a lot of money and they go there to launder it, bro. Don't be stupid, bro.
restaurants. And this is really the economic model of Dubai. It's one of the GCC countries, okay? The Gulf coastal countries. And
if you're wondering why would Iran bomb Dubai, it's because Dubai has ties with the US. And Iran wants no American influence at all. They don't want to be influenced by the Americans in any way. All right? They already had the chance. The Americans gave Iran the chance to bow down, and Iran said, no, we're not doing it.
For the longest time, Dubai had a really good deal because they were under the protection of the American military. So they didn't have to pay for defense. And then they were in the Middle East, which is the oil producing center of the world. And so they focus on aviation, they focus on logistics, they focus on finance, on tourism. They became extremely wealthy, right? I'm not sure if you've taken Emirates, one of the best airlines in the world. So their airport, Dubai Airport, is the busiest in the world. And Dubai, for the longest time, was flourishing under American protection. And Dubai said to the world, listen, we're like Switzerland. We're neutral. We don't want any involvement in any wars. We're here just to take care of our citizens, to make sure everyone has a good time, to make money.
Yeah, good time. Good time. Good time. Shut up, Dubai. First of all, you guys know that in Dubai, a lot of those people say they're coming from impoverished countries like Thailand or Africa, different places like that, that come to Dubai to seek the better life and live at the Shmog Kabashail. Yeah. Those niggas and people that come to that country to live there, or city rather, most of these people get their passports taken away and they are essentially enslaved and live in these project blocks with thousands of other employees, and they live and they get paid cents on the dollar, bro. That's the dark side of Dubai that nobody shows you, is the essential labor slavery that's going on there. How else do you think a city like that was able to be constructed and built in such and the time was so hyperbolic and doesn't make sense? Come on. That's why I said, don't let the narrative, don't be tricked by the narrative.
And then right after the war started, the Iranians attacked the GCC, okay? Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, they attacked these places. And these places were like, what's going on? We're neutral, man. We're not involved in this war. And the airport was shut down in Dubai. At one point, the rich people in Dubai were willing to pay about $250,000 US just to get on a plane and get out of there. Okay? So the reality is this. For the longest time, Dubai had a reputation for being safe. And that's why people moved their money there. Guess what, guys? After what the Iranians did, it's dead. Dubai as a city, in the long term, it is dead. Because
for so long, it's going to be dead. And the reason why all these people were crying, especially Andrew Tate was crying, is because everybody put their money there. Investments, real estate, whatever the case might be, they invested their money, their livelihoods were there. When the market's good, it's up. When you get fucking bombed, yeah, every investment is going to zero. And that's going to be like that for years to come, bro. Years to come. So, yeah, if you have your money in Dubai, I'm so sorry.
You're a wealthy Westerner, you're not going to move to a place where it can be attacked anytime by the Iranians. You might move to Singapore, you might move to Hong Kong, Japan, South America, but you're not moving to Dubai, okay? So the big question for us is, why do the Iranians do this? It's really the Americans who attacked you, why go after the GCC? All right? And not only that, but they're escalating the attacks against the GCC. This is something that we will look at very closely today. Well, the short answer is because these places, even though they pretend to be neutral, they house the American military. They allow this release in Americans to use their airspace to attack Iran from. All right? So this is Bahrain. Now, Bahrain is interesting, okay? Because I want you guys to remember this. But Bahrain will probably be one of the major centers of this conflict. Because, first of all, this is the American Fifth Fleet. All right? This is their naval base in the Middle East. And as you can see, the Iranians are attacking it with missiles. And it's being blown up. Bahrain is interesting because it has about 50% or even more, okay, Shia, which is the religion of the Iranians. But the people in charge are the Sunnis. And so what makes this strike really important from our perspective is, first of all, not only are the Iranians attacking U.S. military assets, not only are they destroying the economies of the GCC, but they're also trying to ignite a religious war, right? If you're Shia, you're loyal to the Ayatollah. And if he's dead, then you must, as a religious obligation, now commit jihad against your enemies. It's no different in other religions where, listen, if you want to keep...
So not only is it a war for attrition, it's a battle of attrition, it's asymmetrical warfare, it's religious, it's a battle for resources. Bro, if someone had a bingo card for all the crazy stuff that was going to happen this year, you're not winning. This is not a year where anybody goes, bingo! No. None of us, dude.
Kill the Pope, the Catholics would be really angry at you and they would want to kill you, right? So now you have the Shia who will probably eventually arise, creating a revolution in Bahrain, okay? So I think Bahrain will be the first to fall. Dubai will probably go bankrupt, okay? But in the long term, we can expect the entire GCC area, including Saudi Arabia, to eventually collapse, okay? And so this is something we'll use game theory to understand. All right, let's continue. So we will know how this war develops just based on geography, okay? So this is a map. And this map, even if you don't really know the war, even if you don't know the participants, even if you don't know the weaponry, this map will tell you exactly how this war will progress. All right, so some certain things to keep in mind about this map. This is what we call this area, okay? Really small, it's 33 kilometers wide, okay? People can swim across it. It's really, really narrow, okay? This small area, guys, it's called the Strait of Hormuz. All right? And it's important because it's really the center of the world. This one area is the nexus, the pivot of the world. Let me explain why. First of all, from the GCC, you have 20% of all the world's oil flowing through this narrow strait. Where does it go, guys? It goes to Asia, India, Pakistan, South Korea, China, Japan. India depends on 60% of its oil from this area. China depends on 40%. Japan, 75%. Prime Minister Takeichi of Japan has said that, listen, if the Strait of Hormuz closes, we're going to have oil in about 8-9 months. The entire Japanese economy would collapse in 8-9 months if the Strait of Hormuz were to close. And guess what? The Iranians have closed the Strait of Hormuz. Okay?
Oh my God. Bro, this small little country that everyone just said, nah, we don't want to mess with Iran. Leave Iran alone. They can't join us. Tell them to fuck off. And Iran has been plotting slowly in the background, going through its winter arc, or better yet, its desert arc. In the hot sun, Iranians were training. In the hot sun, creating missiles in such mass quantity that even your interceptor missiles wouldn't phase them. Each Iranian missile is about $20,000. Each interceptor missile from the Americans is about $2 to $6 million. You tell me who's going to win, huh? When it takes Iran 24 hours to manufacture hundreds of missiles, bro. Come on. This is a joke.
So we can expect that the entire global economy will suffer greatly over the next few months. All right, so that's point number one. Point number two is, okay, so the GCC sends oil across the Strait of Hormuz, and what do they get back in return? Food, guys. All right, so people don't appreciate the GCC, but it is really the linchpin of the American empire. Because what is the American empire? The American empire is the petrodollar. All right? The idea of the petrodollar is this. The US dollar is worth nothing. It's only valuable if people want it. But the GCC says that if you want oil from us, you have to pay us in US dollars. Okay? Then that is the base.
And the reason also, another reason why the US dollar is pretty much valueless is because they took it off the gold standard. All right? America used to value. The value of the American dollar used to equate the amount of gold they had in reserve, okay? But as soon as the Americans said, we're taking our money off of our gold reserve, it allowed the Americans to print astronomical amounts of money, okay? Which is why they have $38 trillion in debt, and this is why they print money to give to their to the military industrial complex. So American money has no value. The only value the Americans have is their oil. And this is why they have strategic bases all around the world where there's what? Oil production. That's why they went into Venezuela. They didn't go into Venezuela for coke. They went to Venezuela for oil. Okay? Remember, guys, the narrative is important.
of the value of the US dollar. So, if the GCC collapses, the American economy and the American empire both collapse at the same time. The problem, though, is the GCC is an artificial construct of empire. It does not exist naturally. Why? Because there's no food, there's no oil, no water. Okay, guys? No food, no water. So these cities are able to grow in the millions because of all these petrodollars flowing in. If you close off the Strait of Hormuz, there's no food coming in, right? They're all going to starve. How much food does the GCC get from overseas? 80%. 80% of all the food it consumes comes from overseas, that it imports. It does not grow by itself, it imports. All right?
You can't really grow food in the desert.
So the Strait of Hormuz is really key. And again, the Iranians will close it in order to strangle the global economy and therefore bankrupt the American empire. All right? Second thing you will notice is these mountains. These mountains is what we call Iran. All right, this is Iran. This is GCC. Okay, this is not a fair matchup, right? Because these are mountains. And what can you do in mountains? Well, you can hide rocket bases. You can hide drone bases. You can hide missiles. And that's the entire Iranian offensive strategy. All right? From here, they can hide missiles and drones from which to attack the GCC. And what are they attacking? They're attacking three things, right? They're attacking American military bases. American military bases. That's number one. Okay? Is it possible for the Americans to defend against these attacks? The answer is no. It's not. It's the silliest thing in the world. You have all these bases in the Middle East, but you cannot defend them against the Iranians. That's kind of strange. Okay, but that's number one. Number two is oil and energy. How hard is it to blow up an oil field with a drone? Not hard at all. Can you defend these oil fields? No, you cannot. All right?
You would think so because of the interceptor missiles, but like I was telling you, the cost of throwing interceptor missiles, you're going to lose just based on you're going to run out of money, dude. And then what is the Americans going to again do, guys? They're probably going to print more money to have to deal with the war that they've now got themselves in with in the Middle East. Oh my God. You can literally see the puzzle pieces forming for the collapse of Western society.
Three, and that's most important, is water. Okay? You guys don't know this, but the GCC has little access to fresh water. So the only way that it can produce water is what we call desalination plants, okay? These factories that take salt water and then through electrical chemical process turn it into fresh water for the population to use. 60% of the water supply in the GCC comes from desalination plants, okay? 60%. Is it hard to blow up a desalination plant using a drone? The answer is, it's very easy. You understand? Okay? So you have this absurd situation where Iran is a mountain fortress, where it can hide its offensive capacity, and the GCC, it's just this desert, this flat desert, and it is exposed to attack, and there's nothing it can do about it.
This essentially is going to be how, because if you guys know the Vietnam War, the Americans lost in the Vietnam War. Why? Because the guerrilla warfare in the trenches, the Americans could not keep up with that. Too many places to hide, too many traps. So they just knew, the Viet Cong knew exactly what to do to defeat the Americans. That's why the Americans never won over there, okay? Second of all, same thing with Iran. You're going to run around in the heat of the mountains? Huh? First, you're going to cross through the water and the desert of the heat and then climb up in the mountains. So you're changing the terrain and weather, going from hot to cold? You think these niggas are hiding in the mountains with their wolves? Bro, this is going to be an upset, bro. Where's the rain bet? Somebody do a parlay on this.
Okay? So at any point in this war, the Iranians can choose to just destroy the entire GCC, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it. Okay? But Iran also has a weakness, okay? And this is fundamental. So Iran also has a water problem, okay? So for the longest time, they suffered a drought issue. Okay, just climate change. And so what the plan of the Israelis and Americans is destroy the water supply of the Iranians. Because the fortress, it is a mountain fortress, but it can also be a mountain prison as well, where people are trapped inside with no access to water. Okay, so what we're going to see right now, we're already seeing attacks on civilian infrastructure, hospitals. In the future, you'll see attacks on water supply, on dams, on reservoirs, on power plants. The idea is to make Iran so inhabitable that the people will have to rebel against the people, or there'll be a refugee crisis in Iran. Okay? So as you can see from this map, this war, it is the end of the world. Okay? Both sides have the potential to destroy each other. It's really a question of how far do they want to go.
Right.
All right? We can also say this is almost
mutually assured destruction. Russia has already told the US that if they try to finish this, clean up the war quick by sending in their all-star team, which are nuclear weapons, Russia said, we're also going to send nuclear weapons, okay? Russia's not that far away from the US. They're going to come the other way, around Japan and Canada. So this is why the Americans can't even use their greatest military forces and weapons in this war. Because Russia said, if you try it, I too will also send the same thing. I will retaliate with the same energy, the same strength. God damn.
the game of chicken. Okay? We can blow each other up. How far do you want to go? And the problem is this. The problem is that the Iranians are Shia, which believes in martyrdom. And
meaning they will go to the end. They will go till they die. Because that means that they're going closer to God. They are going to go sit next to God after they perish. Oh my God. It's the Muslim Valhalla.
killed the religious leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei. So they're willing to go very, very far. The GCC countries are Muslim, but they're materialistic. They love money. And also, most of the population are expatriates, foreigners. 90% of Dubai are foreigners. Guess what's going to happen if they suffer? They're going to run away. Okay? So this is not a fair matchup. The big question that people have is, first of all, are the Americans going to use ground troops? Because the only way that you can defeat Iran is by using ground troops, okay? That's a big question we'll look at in the next few weeks. Will America send its army? 500,000, 2 million soldiers to topple the government. Okay, that's question number one. Question number two, nuclear weapons. If you're losing a war, would you choose to use nuclear weapons? Okay, that's another big question that we have, okay? Another big question that we have is who gets involved? Because this situation is so dire that Europe, okay, specifically Germany, France, and Britain are talking about entering this war. And guess what? If that happens, it is possible that Russia and China will also enter this war on the side of the Iranians. This is World War III, okay?
Damn.
Because of the importance of the Strait of Hormuz, because of the importance of the Middle East, everyone has to get involved at some point.
Oil, boys.
And we're going to use game theory to really try to understand
It's like an episode of Mad Max.
what's happening on the ground
For
and where this
resources.
could lead us. Okay? All right. You guys understand? All right. All right. Let's continue. Okay, so again, there are American bases all over the Middle East. And originally, these bases were established to protect them from basically their own people. Okay? These are monarchies that were imposed on these nations by the Anglo-American Empire, the British first, and then Americans came to support these monarchies. And so they provide defense. But then you're like, wait a minute here. I mean, didn't we just say that these American bases can't actually defend these people, that they're exposed? And the answer is, yes, that's true. But remember, like, the American military was built during the Cold War. Okay? And the Cold War was a war between the Soviet Union and America. And so the Cold War was defined as something called MAD, mutually assured destruction. Because both had nuclear weapons, okay? So they didn't really go to war against each other. And so in other words, these bases aren't really meant to defend these nations from other enemies. They're really meant to impose American authority in the Middle East, okay? And it's the idea of this. It's the idea that empire, it is really a image. It is a hallucination. It is an idea. Empire is it's an aura of invincibility and invisibility, okay? If you fear it, then you obey it. But it's not really designed to fight a war, okay? And so that's why we have this absurd situation. And because there are so many bases in the GCC, that gives the Iranians the perfect pretext to attack them in order to destroy the GCC economy, which will destroy the American empire, right? All right, so this is how the war is shaping out, okay? So the red is the Israelis and the Americans, the yellow are the Iranians. And as you can see, the Iranians are attacking everywhere, primarily Israel, okay? But also, as you can see, a lot of focus on Bahrain and Qatar. And again, the intention is to destabilize the economy and the government. Okay, it's to try to get as much instability as possible, right? Okay, and as you can see, the Americans and Israelis are focused on Tehran. And so the Americans and the Israelis use something we call shock and awe. And the very idea of shock and awe is you decapitate the enemy. You cut off the head, the body will fall down, okay? The problem, though, is, again, the Iranians see this as a religious war. And so the Iranians have announced total war, okay? And so what this means is that right now, command and control in Iran is decentralized. There's no one person telling them what to do. Every region has its own orders, has its own strategy. And so if you knock out Tehran, everyone else keeps on going. So if you take off the head, it doesn't change anything, okay? But unfortunately, the Israelis and Americans use this as a military doctrine. Military doctrine just means how you design your military for what purpose. And so even though the Americans seem like an invincible army, they are not equipped to fight a 21st century war against drones, against destabilization, against religious fanatics.
They'll lose every time. America has no God. All right, guys. I think that's the end of this video. Let's get into the next one. We have a lot to get into today, guys. We have a lot to get into. We got a lot to get into today. We got a lot to get into. Yeah, let me put this here. I deleted the folder called Yester. Should have done that. There's some clavicular clips and stuff in there that I need to clip still, so I shouldn't have done that. 1 second, let's take care of that. 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 Avoid the illusion. Let's see what's in this. 1 second, guys. I gotta take care of this. Oh, when you delete the folder, it just drops it in like that? That's not good. Okay, fine. Okay. God damn. Sorry, I didn't realize that was the case. All right. Okay. All right. There's nothing else we need from this. Okay, let's get into the next video, guys. Sorry, that was a detour we took there real quick.
We can.
Oh my God! Another 50-minute video by
The Iranian.
All right, let's get into this one. The Iranian strategy matrix terrifies the U.S.
Have to be very strategic in their response to the Americans and the Israelis. And the reason why is the Americans and the Israelis have military dominance over Iran. But just because you have military dominance does not mean you'll win the war. Okay? So what I believe is that Iran and Israel are committed to a war. And it's possible that in 2 years' time, there will be a ground invasion of Iran. Okay? But it's going to take time to build up to the ground invasion. But just because the Americans and the Israelis attack Iran.
First of all, war is so stupid. Who is the man who's saying, yeah, I'm going to go pack my stuff up, grab a couple of weapons, and go and invade the enemy? Like, bro, what? You know how, like, I always find that the people that are willing to go to war and the people that are like police officers, you guys' brain is cooked, bro. Because it's like, yeah, I'm gonna listen to somebody else to tell me to go risk my life. No, bro. Stop.
Does not mean they will win, okay? And the reason why is that, as you know from your research, in 2002, the Americans actually tried to invade Iran, okay? They ran a simulation called the 2002 Millennium Challenge. And the idea is, let's pretend that we will invade Iran and let's see what happens. So they divide the military into two teams, right? Team USA and Team Iran. Now, if you know anything about the American military, you will know that it is the most dominant, powerful military ever to exist in human history, okay? It is crazy powerful. If the entire world were to get together and said, let's go,
It's only powerful because they took their money off of the gold standard, which allowed them to print money, which allowed them to put hella tons of money into the military industrial complex. It's all BS, which is why the US dollar has no value, and which is why the only thing that the US can shill is oil. All right?
fight the United States. The world would lose. The United States has the most powerful military in the entire world, okay? And Iran, it's a very poor country. So the United States invaded Iran, and they wanted to see what would happen. And it turned out that, who won? Iran won, okay? And the reason why Iran won is the idea of asymmetrical warfare, all right? And this is a very important idea that you must know if you are to understand this conflict. So what is asymmetrical warfare? All right, let's pretend that Jack and I are enemies. We hate each other and want to kill each other, okay? Jack has armor, and he has a machine gun. I have nothing, okay? So in most battles, Jack's gonna kill me, right? But let's pretend that I live in a dark forest. And it's really hard to see in this dark forest, but I've been living there for decades, okay? So I know this dark forest very, very well. So if Jack attacks me in this dark forest, then it's possible for me to win because I can set traps, right?
It's the same advantage that Vietnam had, the Viet Cong had in the jungles, which is why the Americans never defeated the Vietnam, bro. The Vietnamese people, because of the same sort of asymmetrical warfare. The guerrilla warfare was too strong. They couldn't evade it. They fell into traps made out of sticks and twigs and snake venom. My God, man.
I can play tricks on Jack. And that's the idea of asymmetrical warfare, okay? Even though Jack is superior, because I'm inferior, I'm forced to be much more strategic in how I fight against Jack, okay? And so asymmetrical warfare means that as long as you can define the terms of engagement, as long as you can control how the war is fought, you will win. So let's look at what this means for Iran and the United States. So the United States has these aircraft carriers, and they cost like $1 billion, okay? They're very expensive, but they're very powerful. Now, in a symmetrical warfare, what happened is Iran sends its entire navy against this one aircraft carrier of the United States. And then what happens? The United States blows up the entire Iranian navy, okay? That's what would happen. So you don't do that, okay? You do not send your navy against an American aircraft carrier. What you do instead is you send drones, okay? Or drone swarms. So what they did in the Millennium Challenge was they had these suicide boats, right? Charging these aircraft carriers. And guess what, guys? If there's a lot of them, like 1,000 of them, you can't stop all of them. And if one hits, then your boat sinks, okay? Does that make sense? Okay? That's what we call asymmetrical warfare. Now, what's important to understand is that in asymmetrical warfare, you have to control how much resources you use, okay? So for example, this aircraft carrier costs like $1 billion. The drone swarms, okay, a drone may be $1,000 for a real one, okay? But then you have fake ones that cost $100. $1,000 are these drones that blow up, right? $100 are drones that don't blow up, right? You have 1,000 of these, and then that's like $10 million. And then you have 10,000 of these, and that's another $10 million, okay? So it'll cost you maybe $20 million to blow up a $1 billion aircraft carrier. Okay? Does that make sense? And this is why Iran would win a war, because Iran would employ asymmetrical warfare, drone swarms against the American aircraft carrier.
They could not. The Americans just couldn't keep up financially with what the Iranians would do, essentially. Because if all these drones are so cheap, even if you throw the interceptor missiles that the Americans have, an interceptor missile costs between $2 to $6 million each. You're not winning, bro. If y'all seen that you guys weren't going to win since 2002, what would push you today to go to war against Iran, bro? You guys are so stupid, bro. War is dumb.
And the true promise actually showed us that the Iranians would probably use a strategy. And the reason why is that the total package, the strike package that the Iranians used, cost about $10 to $30 million. But how much money did the Israelis spend to bring down these drones? Do you guys know? How much did it cost the Israelis to defend themselves against this attack? Okay, it was at least $1 billion. Okay, do you understand? All right. So this shows us that in a war, Iran would use asymmetrical warfare. And and even though Israel and the United States have military dominance, they may not be able to win this war. Okay, so does this make sense so far? Any questions? The Iranians will use this asymmetrical warfare strategy against the Americans. And so shouldn't the Americans respond with more strategic thinking? And that's a great question. And the answer is the Americans would not do that. Why not? Why is it that asymmetrical warfare is so effective against empires and dominant military powers? What's a problem of empires usually? What is their biggest problem? What is their fatal flaw? Okay, they have too much bureaucracy, but Iran also has bureaucracy. But the empires have a much bigger problem, okay? Now let's go back to the Millennium Challenge. Now, in the first test, in the first battle, Iran won against the United States, right? So what did the United States do? And do what? They did it again. They did a second simulation. In the second simulation, what did they do? Exactly, okay? What the Americans said is, nope, this is cheating, guys. Did you understand? Asymmetrical warfare is cheating. You cannot cheat. And then the Americans won. Does that make sense? Okay?
What? So the mans were just sore losers and said, nah. Your method of using warfare, we don't like that. That makes us look bad. So don't use that, and we'll use all our force and might, and you guys just make do with what you can. And then they stop. Ridiculous, dude.
So remember, in the first instance where you are allowed to use asymmetrical warfare, the Iranians won. In the second instance, the Americans said, no, asymmetrical warfare is cheating. So you're not allowed to use asymmetrical warfare. You must fight us directly. And the Americans won. What does this tell us about the American military? Exactly. Thank you, okay? They are inflexible. Empires are inflexible. And the reason why is the idea of hubris, right? If you're an empire, you refuse to admit your failings and faults. You become very stubborn, okay? So it's back to the example of Jack has his machine gun, his armor, right? He comes into the Stark Forest thinking like, I'm invincible, right? And like everyone's like, Jack, don't go into that dark forest. It's stupid. But Jack's like, no, I have a machine gun. I don't care, all right? So that's the situation. That's why asymmetrical warfare is so effective, because it allows you flexibility and creativity, and the empire, the dominant power, refuses to be flexible and creative, okay? Does that make sense, all right? And so the classic example of this is Vietnam, where the Vietnamese were clearly dominated by the Americans, but the Vietnamese were using extremely creative and flexible tactics against Americans, whereas the Americans insisted on their main military doctrine. Okay, does that make sense? All right, great. Okay, any more questions? That was a great question. Thank you.
Literally, history repeats itself, bro. It doesn't repeat, it rhymes. So, kid God, you would think you would learn and say, no. If we can't beat them with might and force, then we need to be more strategic. I guess it turns out the Americans aren't really that strategic, bro. They're pretty stupid in this grand scheme of things. How are you guys taking L's everywhere, bro? Literal L's.
Any more questions before we move on? Okay, so now I want to talk about, okay, if the Iranians are going to use asymmetrical warfare, what would it look like? And the answer is this. When the Americans invade, okay, the war started. Before the invasion, the Iranians must do 4 things if it is to prevail in the war, okay? And this is what we call the Iran strategy matrix. The Iran strategy matrix means that from now on, everything they do must fit into the strategy matrix, okay? It must accomplish the objectives of the strategy matrix. So the first thing it must do is unite the population. Second thing it must do is build alliances. And the third thing is win global opinion. And the fourth is weaken the enemy. So in other words, everything that Iran is going to do from now until the actual invasion will be to accomplish all 4 goals at once. And
Dear God, man. World War III is here, and we are all screwed. You guys, I don't like war. War is bad. War is bad. War is very bad. War is bad. Let's see if my sound has been working.
have to be very strategic in their response to the Americans and the Israelis. And the reason why is the Americans and the Israelis have military time. There will be a ground invasion.
Yeah, I'm going to go. Got it. It's working. Sound is working, guys. I was just a little bit shook there because this is a really big stream. And who's chatting me right now, bro? You foot. Oh, viewers suddenly. Shut up. You foot. All right, let's get back into the stream. Like, are you going to take me out of the stream with this stupid chat, you know?
So
Professor Jiang simplified. This is the video like this? Come on, Professor Jiang simplified. Who did this? Bro, what is this, dude? You can't do this. What is this?
What we're witnessing right now is a strategic masterclass in asymmetric warfare. Iran's
Bro, stop it.
If you look at a map,
Okay. That other video was like so dumb. Like, why was it looking like that? Why do you guys make the video look like that? Let's get into this next one.
today in Europe, there's a really interesting fact that may surprise you. The green is Russia. It's the largest country in the world. Over here are the Baltic nations, and over here is a place called Kaliningrad. It's actually Russian. The question then is, how did this come to pass? How was it that you got this colony of Russians far away from the motherland? And the answer is this, because historically, this was not Russian. Historically, this was a place called Königsberg, which was part of a nation that no longer exists called Prussia. And for a couple hundred years, Prussia was the strongest military, the most advanced civilization in the world. And now it's disappeared. And it's been replaced by Poland, okay, and parts of Belarus. And West Prussia has now become part of Germany. But Prussia is extinct. And the reason why is that in World War II, the Allies who won the war, the Soviet Union, the British, and the Americans decided to destroy Prussia. And the rationale was that Prussia is a militaristic society that is hell-bent on world domination. And by eliminating Prussia, we can now bring peace to the world. The problem, though, is that Königsberg, which is now Kaliningrad, was really the center of civilization for a few decades. This is Königsberg before in the 1800s. As you can see, it's a beautiful port city by the Baltic Sea. And it was really the apex of human civilization. And then, of course,
if you guys haven't had the chance to go to the Baltics yet, you must go visit it. The Black Sea, the areas that that encapsulate the Black Sea, absolutely beautiful. Romania, Constanza, beautiful.
Of course, World War II happened, and then after World War II, Königsberg was destroyed, okay? It was turned into rubble. And today, it's like this, Kaliningrad, okay? A very Soviet, stale city with no character, with no culture, with no civilization, right? And that's the intent, to destroy Königsberg, which was for the longest time the heart and soul of German civilization. It is true that Königsberg and Prussia were extremely powerful military nation.
These outfits, bro.
As you can see, there are many great generals and officers who are from Königsberg, okay? We're talking about the city. We're not talking about the nation, Prussia. We're talking about the city of Königsberg. But you also see that there are many intellectuals, writers, who come from Königsberg. And the most famous of these intellectuals is Immanuel Kant, who we'll discuss next class. He basically changed the course of Western history with his philosophy. So Königsberg was the birthplace of Immanuel Kant. So how is it that the man who is most responsible for the Enlightenment happens to be born in a militaristic nation? That's a question. But not only Immanuel Kant, you have also many other great thinkers, including Hannah Arendt, who is a Jewish philosopher and who is considered one of the greatest political philosophers of the 20th century. She's also from Königsberg. Scientists, just an amazing group of scientists, as well as mathematicians. And then, of course, you have musicians and artists. So the contribution of Königsberg to world civilization cannot be overstated. And there are quite a few Jews.
But it is, because nobody knew about it. But this is why we have these lecture series that I'm doing right now on my stream, is because there's so much knowledge and information that needs to be talked about. Because the narrative is completely Willy Wonka, bro. It doesn't make sense. They want you to look at this thing here whilst they're doing something else with this hand. So they're completely switching the narrative to make it, even the idea of the map, the world map, the sizes of the continents on the world map is another narrative and form of control. Africa is the largest landmass on there, right? Next to Russia as well. So the sizes that they're all placed on is completely incorrect. North America is nowhere near the size it is on the map, bro.
Who lived in Königsberg. Königsberg, for the longest time, was considered one of the most tolerant cities in Germany for Jews. Let's now look at Nobel Prize winners in the sciences, physics, chemistry, and medicine. As you can see, in 1925, the majority were actually from Germany. Germany had the best scientists in the world. 1933, same thing. You got on 1950, same thing. In fact, by 1975, Germany is still dominant. The United States is catching up. It's only by about 2000 when the United States starts to overtake Germany. So again, the question then is, how is it possible for a militaristic nation?
But the US only took over Germany because after the war with Adolf, guess what the Americans did? They took all the top scientists and researchers that were helping and working in Germany and working towards the Nazi regime, and they said, oh, all of you, come help us in America, even NASA. That's German, bro. All the niggas in NASA, Germans. Okay? Hey, I don't know the news. I just report the news. But I'm just telling you, they took all those niggas. That's the only reason why they were able to surpass them in the Nobel Peace Prizes later on in life. There you go.
Hell-bent on world domination. How are they able to produce so many great scientists, so many great philosophers? And this is a very famous quote from Voltaire that captures the prejudice of the West against Prussia. Where some states have an army, the Prussian army has a state. This is pretty insulting to Prussian culture. We've looked at many civilizations that are militaristic, okay? Including the Romans, Spartans, Aztecs, Macedonians, and Qing Chinese, among others. They're extremely successful militarily, but guess what? They were not creative. In fact, they were anti-creative. So how is it possible for the Prussians to be both creative and militaristic? And the answer is because the Western prejudice against Prussia is wrong. They were not a militaristic nation bent on world domination. They were first and foremost a creative human.
I told you, always be aware of the narrative that they try to create, bro. Always do your due diligence. Do not just take information and accept it as truth.
Society that was forced into military confrontation with its neighbors because of its geographic location. Let's go back to the history of the Holy Roman Empire. As we discussed in a previous class, the Holy Roman Empire was a confederation of German city-states. And there were like thousands and thousands of them that were in competition with each other. Over time, because of competition from the more powerful states like France, Poland, Lithuania, Russia, Sweden, city-states were now forced to gel together. The most successful of these city-states is Prussia. And for the longest time, Prussia was a vassal state of the Polish Lithuania Commonwealth or the Swedes. About the year 1700, it started to come into its own through the leadership, through great military leadership. Okay? And it started to spread out. And as you can see, it's spreading out really quickly because of its military victories and because of its high culture. By the 19th century, Prussia has dedicated itself to uniting all of Germany. And it starts a series of wars that allow for the unification of all the German people. The first is something called the Dano-Prussian War. Then they fight against the Austrian-Hungary Empire, which is a successor to the Holy Roman Empire. And they defeat the Austrians really quickly. Then they move on to France, which is the dominant power of this time, and they defeat France, thus allowing for the complete unification of Germany under Prussian leadership. So how was Prussia able to be so successful? Well, as we discussed last class, there are certain characteristics about these city-states that go on to unify a nation. Okay? And the three major ones that Moscow and Prussia share is open cooperative competition. They're surrounded by enemies and they're forced to be innovative, open, and tolerant in order to succeed. They're forced to be unified, advantaged by disadvantage. Okay? So Prussia and Moscow had limited resources, which forces them to focus on human capital, on making sure citizens were well educated and the citizens were hardworking and vassalage. Okay? So again, Moscow was under the vassalage of the Mongols, and
Yo, their drip is insane back then, bro.
Russia for the longest time was under the vassalage of the Swedes, the Poles, the Lithuanians, and as a result, they're always engaged in a process of reflection and resilience. And that's really the secret to the success of Prussia. At the same time, the thing to remember about the Prussians that differentiates them from the Muscovites is because Prussia is situated within Europe, it has a very different attitude towards humans than the Muscovites, okay? The Muscovites, because of their Mongolian heritage, they tend to oppress their subjects, whereas the Prussians are much more democratic, they're much more progressive, they're much more open. So this is Frederick the Great, who is considered the great nation builder of Prussia through his military victories. What is often ignored is his social, economic, political reforms. He really is the first Enlightenment despot. Okay? He's heavily influenced by Immanuel Kant. They thought very highly of each other. He was very intent on making Prussia the first enlightened state of Europe. Let's look at the few things he did. He radically reformed the Prussian judicial system so that you had rule of law, so that everyone had recourse to justice. Even if you were poor, you could still sue. He abolished torture in the military. And this was revolutionary at this time because it was always assumed that you kept your soldiers in check by scaring them. He established religious tolerance. Remember, at this time in Europe, there's a huge...
You can rule a country or a society with fear, but just know at a certain point, people will start to rebel. Because it's with every action, there's an equal or greater reaction, right? So if you hit somebody enough, just know at a certain point, they will turn around and they'll smack the shit out of you, okay? So the best way to sort of rule over any sort of place is to provide value to the people and uplift your people. If the people love you, they will be willing to die for you, but they will not be willing to die for you if you've been sort of torturing them and beating them, and they will then find any excuse to let you burn. So you have to rule with a soft hand. Pause.
War going on between the Catholics and the Protestants, and he was tolerant towards both the Catholics and the Protestants, and even to a certain extent to the Jews as well. And over time, Königsberg, which is the heart and center of the Prussian nation, it has one of the largest Jewish settlements in Europe, okay, about 5,000 at that point. He grants basic form of freedom of speech, and the most important thing is that in 1763, he establishes a public school system that becomes a source for Prussia's future greatness. And to put this in context, it's only over 100 years later when Britain and France does this. Japan and America will copy, just basically steal the Prussian education system. In 1806, Prussia is defeated by Napoleon. And as a result, Prussia becomes a vassal state to Napoleon. And at this point, what the Prussians do is what they've always done, which is engage in a deep process of reflection. And they decide that in order to defeat France, they must be like France. Remember, this is the French Revolution, and there's a spread of liberalism throughout France because of the revolution. So the Prussians decide to copy the most important reforms of the French Revolution, which include the abolishment of serfdom. Now, peasants can become landowners. They destroy monopolies to encourage free market competition. They open civil service to the middle class before it's only available to the nobility. And the most important thing is the reforms of a man named William von Humboldt. He creates the modern research university. So he founded something called the Berlin University. And so he conceptualized the research university where before you just sat in class and you listened to lectures and you memorized what the professor told you, but now you're encouraged to do your own research, to write a thesis, okay, which is what we do today. The most important thing he did was to conceptualize public education as a meritocracy, as an opportunity for the middle class to grow the middle class and to give the middle class a greater economic role in society. And these reforms, in only a few years, will allow Prussia to defeat Napoleon and establish itself as a great power again. Let's go back to the beginning. We were talking about Kaliningrad, right? It is one of the greatest injustices in human history that Königsberg, which was for the longest time cradle of human civilization, the epicenter of the Enlightenment, it is now completely destroyed. But this is an idea from Wagner, okay? By destroying this, the world has cursed itself. Let me explain why. First of all, the German question now is more relevant than ever before. You've destroyed Königsberg, but you have not destroyed the desire for unity among the German people. So this is a memory that will not fade. Will the Germans seek vengeance? Will another Hitler arise to unite the German people? Now, what you guys don't know is that the Prussians were one of the main forces opposing Hitler as well as inhibiting Hitler. Okay? Because Prussia had a very proud culture, and it's very the strongest part of Germany. But now that they destroyed Prussia, if another Hitler rises, there's really nothing to stop him. That's the first problem. Second question is, okay, let's go back to this map. Europe and Russia are about to go to war with each other, right? Okay, well, if you are Europe and you go into Ukraine, you're going to be slaughtered. But this is Kaliningrad, Russian territory, 500,000 Russians, right? You can blockade Kaliningrad. So this could be the start of World War III, right here. If the Europeans blockade Kaliningrad and they try to starve the people, Putin would have no choice but to intervene. But the main problem is this. Königsberg was one of the main intellectual, scientific, and cultural centers of Europe. That its loss reduced the innovative potential of humanity. So what I will show you next class when we discuss Kant is science comes from philosophy. Culture leads to philosophy, which leads to science, which leads to technology. You cannot have science independent of philosophy. When you destroy a center of philosophical innovation, you destroy a center for scientific progress.
Oof. Heavy, 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 heavy. There's something I'm missing here, guys. It's 4 o'clock. There's an hour left for the stream. I just want to get this first. Okay, let's get into this.
All right, so let me.
Why America needs the Iranian threat to survive. Okay, I like that. There's one thing I want. Before we get into that, let me just do some fiddling around here first. Yeah, I got rid of that video while I was looking for it. There's a video I was looking for that isn't here anymore. 1 second. Yeah, I know. This is nuts. This is not stream worthy. Gang, it's not stream worthy, but this is what needs to be done for the moment. What is this video? Oh, there's no headphones, so I know that. Okay, I know what that video is. Hopefully I can find it. I'm trying to find it. Hopefully we can find it. Hopefully we can find it. It's like, it had like a finished shorts. Hopefully we can find it. Do you guys like when I aimlessly scroll through my entire catalog of content trying to find a singular video? Do you guys like that? Do you guys enjoy seeing me do that? How does that make you guys feel when you see me scroll through all my shit? Hmm? That make you feel good in your boing loins? Okay. There's a folder here called Yester. That's the folder I was looking for. Because in this folder, there's this video here. Yes. The internet's favorite groupie. Yes. Yes. Right. Now, you can get rid of this. Okay, let's get back into the fucking stream, guys. Sorry, that was me having to do me, you know? Cause let's go.
We conclude now by talking about these great figures that have emerged in human history and compare them, okay? So as I mentioned at the beginning of the class, without Robespierre, Napoleon would not have been possible. All right, so this chart shows us how. You compare Robespierre and Napoleon. Robespierre obtained his power through virtue and dedication. He worked 18 hours a day. He was completely dedicated to the revolution. He had no girlfriend. He had no money. He was not being paid for his work. All he was doing...
Talk about, damn, giving your whole life. Man sacrificed hoes and bread. Said, hey, I want to dedicate my entire life to this revolution. Yo, shout out to him, bro. Some of y'all niggas never put 18 hours into anything except gooning and fapping, bro.
Was to ensure the revolution would succeed. And because of his dedication and virtue, the revolution was saved and it succeeded, okay? So without Robespierre, the French Revolution would not have been possible. He was a prophet of reason. He believed that everyone had the capacity to reason. So if you present a logical argument, people would understand it, okay? And that was both the source of his virtue, but it was also the source of his downfall, because he could not imagine that his friends would conspire against him, because they wanted to protect their own self-interest, okay? And the third thing about Robespierre that's important is he saved the French Revolution. Let's compare him with Napoleon, okay, who's completely opposite. Napoleon got to where he was because of political maneuvering. He was able to identify political patrons early in his career, and he did whatever they asked of him, and then together they launched a coup d'etat against the French Republic. And after the coup d'etat succeeded, he betrayed his political allies. And he amassed power for himself. That's how he became emperor, okay? So Napoleon, he's a great politician. We think of him as a general, but he's really a politician. The thing about Napoleon that made him so successful is his myth-making genius. He understood that people are looking for myths, and he knew how to present himself as a mythic figure, like the Messiah, okay? And as a result, he destroyed the French Republic. Now, what's interesting is that if you look at human history, figures like Napoleon appear always at the end of a republic.
So if somebody says you have a Napoleon complex, is that such a bad thing?
Republic, okay? So Napoleon killed the French Republic, but they have Julius Caesar, who is of the same personality, okay? Julius Caesar was able to identify local patrons very early on and outmaneuver them as they amassed power. Julius Caesar was focused on creating a myth of himself as this unbeatable general. And as a result, he destroyed the Roman Republic. Later on, we will study Hitler. Guess what, guys? Hitler follows the same pattern, okay? Hitler was able to amass power because he outmaneuvered his local patrons and allies. We will study this, okay? Remember, the Nazis did not come out of nowhere. The Nazis were a force incubated by the German army in order to destroy the communist movement. Okay? And Hitler took advantage of this. Hitler got to where he was because he created a myth of himself as a savior of the German people, right? And then he destroyed the Roman Republic. Why is this important? Because it's entirely possible we are living at another inflection point in history where the American Republic may be destroyed. Trump, okay? How did Trump get to where he is? Political maneuvering. Why is he president? Because he has a myth-making genius, okay? That's really important to understand about Trump. Everyone's like, Trump is a terrible business person. He's lost a lot of money. Trump doesn't understand tariffs. He doesn't understand the economy. He doesn't care. He understands mythology, okay? He understands how to capture people's attention. He knows how to instill an image of himself as a messiah in people's minds.
So essentially, Trump is the greatest content creator we've ever seen, based on the media and the access to spreading information that we have nowadays compared to before. These other people, they had to spread the myth and mythology through word of mouth and through writings and paper. Trump gets on television with hundreds and thousands of viewers and people with cameras and cell phones, and oh my goodness, bro. Same tactic, different medium and time. Bro, way more effective.
That's what he cares about, right? He doesn't need to succeed. He needs to act. And then he needs to present himself in a way that captures people's imagination. What does Trump spend all his time on? He spends all his time talking to the press. That's his job, okay? Do you understand? His job is not to think about economics or military matters. His job is to talk to the press and create an image of himself as a messiah to the American people, okay? So the question then is, okay, well, listen, if we see this pattern, Napoleon, Caesar, Hitler are the same person, the results are the same, and Trump is similar to Napoleon, Caesar, and Hitler, what's going to happen? I don't know. But, okay, and this is really important, if in fact, in the next 10 years, and it will probably take 10 years, if Trump actually destroys the American Republic, okay, then a pattern emerges in history, all right? And if this pattern is consistent, now we're able to control history because we're able to foresee and predict history. So that's the idea. Okay, that's it. Any questions? Was this clear to you guys? Okay, that's a great question. Okay, why did Napoleon succeed?
Well, based on the warfare that the Americans are trying to do with Iran right now, I see the U.S. military and the U.S. civilization coming to a complete end. At the end of this war, I'm going to predict it. I don't think that U.S. will be a superpower anymore by the end of this because they will deploy too many resources, and the asymmetrical warfare that Iran is going to impose on the Americans. Yuck, bro. Yuck. You guys are done. Finished, bud.
Where Robespierre failed. Okay. So the difference is this. If I'm Robespierre, I believe everyone's capable of reason, right? Therefore, you have to...
That whole photo is paused, bro.
Robespierre failed. Okay.
What is that? What is this, man? Is this nigga here thrusting here? What's this? Right there on his booty? Why is this nigga's booty inverted like that? Bro! This nigga's chained up? Oh! Pause.
So the difference is this. If I'm Robespierre, I believe everyone's capable of reason, right? Therefore, you have a responsibility to reason for yourself. You understand? I will give you ideas, but you must come to your own conclusions. You must act independently of me, okay? And Napoleon's like, no. People don't want to think. People want to believe. People want to obey. If I present myself as Messiah, and I tell people, follow me, and I will lead you to paradise, people want to follow me, okay? And people love this confidence, right? This charisma, this confidence of Napoleon. Think of Trump, right? Maybe you and I think Trump's an idiot, but if you're a normal person, you believe that Trump, he is a genius because he's so confident, right? People are attracted to confidence. Does that make sense? People aren't attracted to logic or reason. They're attracted to confidence and charisma. Trump tells everyone, follow me and the world will be fine. We will make America great again. And, you know.
Now you gooners understand if you need to go get some shorties in your life. Confidence. People are attracted to that. They like that. And charisma. It's energy. It's like light energy. Gets them hoes.
You're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Doesn't matter, okay? What Trump has done is create a mythology that has captured people's imagination. And as such, people are willing to die for this. Does that make sense? That's what made Napoleon such a great military leader. Because he had this confidence, and people just had to follow him, okay? Does that make sense? Okay. Myth-making, okay? Myth-making is, all right, there's reality. Okay, why is Trump a myth-making genius? Okay, there's reality, right? These are things that you and I see every day. And then there's myths. These are ideas that we have about how society works, okay? About how the world works. Now, objectively speaking, Trump is a failed business person. His father was a great business person, Fred Trump, who built a real estate empire. And then Trump came along and took this empire over. And he almost bankrupted this empire, okay? And so Fred Trump was spending a lot of his time thinking about how to make money. Like, how do I make a great business? How do I hire good people? How do I motivate them? How do I steal more money from the government, okay? So he was focused on the very specifics of running a business. Trump is like, no, people don't want that. People wanted to see a successful billionaire, okay? And what's a successful billionaire? He sleeps with a beautiful woman, right? I'm going to find beautiful women and I'm going to sleep with them, and the press is reported. And then people were like, oh my God, this guy is a god because all these beautiful women want to sleep with him. Therefore, I should give him my money to spend, to invest because he's a genius, okay? What people want.
Bro, what? Yo, is that how y'all niggas got... That's how Epstein did the whole shebang, dude. Epstein did the whole shebang exactly like that, dude. Beautiful women. Oh my goodness, dude. We're not too far removed from our sort of ape biology, dude. Procreation? You niggas fell for this thing based on ideas of procreation? The nigga is literally losing and bankrupting businesses, but you said, nah, let's give him our money because the nigga can get hoes. Gosh, bro. What?
It's a mythology of success. Okay, does that make sense? So what made Trump actually really famous is a show called The Apprentice. The Apprentice is a TV show. It's made up, and the show presents Trump as this extremely wise and forward-looking business person. And he's the opposite in reality, okay? But what Trump understands is really important is people don't care about reality. People want to watch a TV show that's exciting, that's interesting, that's fun. So if I turn politics into a TV show, and everyone's watching all the time, they will always want me to be president. Does that make sense? Yeah, because, okay, so is perception more important than reality? And the answer is yes, okay? And the reason why is reality, it is very hard. It's very difficult, all right? People prefer simple ideas, simple myths that allow them to better navigate reality. That's why religion is important, okay? So what Trump's doing...
People want to be lied to, especially women. People want to be lied to because life is too complicated. They always want to talk about, it was a simpler time when I was a kid. It was simpler. Yeah. Now that niggas got to pay bills and mortgages and feed the children, it's too complicated. It's too complex. So now, if they can just be spoon-fed some sort of garbaggio on the TV, yeah, they like that. Yeah, give me garbage. I love it.
Doing is he's creating a religion. He's creating a religion about himself, right? And it's really the same idea as Napoleon. Napoleon says this, right? I saw the way to achieve my dreams. I would found a religion. I saw myself as marching into Asia, mounted on an elephant, a turban on my head, and in my hand a new Koran that I would have called.
Young Krayshawn in the club, and I'm rocking on an elephant. Elephant. Still so grounded, but it looks so elegant. Sorry.
Imposed to suit my needs. MAGA is a new religion, okay? Make America great again. Don't think of it as a political movement. Think of it as a new religion. Now I will explain to you why Trump is so powerful, okay? I think Trump will be president of the United States in the next 10 years. It is very hard to remove him because, like, once you remove him, the TV show ends. You understand? Now you have to go back to reality. People don't want that. People want to live in a TV show. Exactly. That's exactly right. People want to live in a dream. It's perfect. Thank you. People want to live in a dream because that's what makes life bearable. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. That's a great question, okay?
That is so depressing, dude. The fact that nobody wants to face reality, they want to live in a dream state. So essentially, most people in society, which is why most people in society are completely BS, but most people in society are not living the life that they intended on living. They're living this life that was essentially imposed on them because they have no other way of getting out of it. So they're living a terrible life, working a terrible job they don't like, and they just have to endure. Because as they've gotten older, they've incurred more and more responsibility and they can't get out of it. L. Society is crazy. Why wouldn't you want to live every single day to the fullest in the way that you would want to? Most people can't think that way, dude. And so they're stuck.
So the argument against this is that, Trump is a terrible economic leader. And so with his tariff war against China, with all of these policies, it's just going to make the American person more poor, okay? So less money spent, the American won't be able to afford a house, okay? So this is really important, but you have to think about people's psychology, all right? So, sorry, let me write this down, because it's a very important idea, okay? You have to understand people's psychology. People are not capable of thinking in absolute terms. Does that make sense? Like if I give you a bottle of wine, okay, this bottle of wine, okay, and I give you another bottle of wine, and I ask you to tell me which is better. You're not able to do it, okay? But if I told you this one is $50, this one is $10, you know this has to be better. Do you understand? So people's psychology is very interesting, but people cannot think objectively, okay? People can only compare and contrast. So let's just say, okay, trade war. The American consumer is losing purchasing power, right? So the person is getting more poor. But if China's getting more poor in this time, right? So US goes down, but China goes down even more, people are happy. Do you understand? Okay, I know this is terrible, but this is true. I don't have to make you rich. I just have to make everyone else poor, and then you're happy, right? Make America great again. Make America great again. Do you understand? Being great, it's just a perception. I'm better than everyone else, and then I'm great. I don't have to be wealthy. I just have to be better off.
Under the rule of God, we are not superior to anybody else. God is the only being superior to us. Nobody else, your neighbor, your cousin, no one is better than you except for God himself. Okay? Don't let anybody fool you in minimizing your ideas and ideologies and minimizing your spirit, dude, because that's an L.
Everyone else. So the entire world is poor, America is happier. Does that make sense? Okay? So that's a logic here. Trump doesn't want to make America wealthy again. He needs to make America a myth again. He wants to create the myth of a great America because the rest of the world is either at war or it's bankrupt or people feel hopeless. Do you understand? And honestly, he's right. Okay? He's absolutely.
Dear God, Jiang. God damn it, Jiang. Why you gotta be so dark with it, my guy? Okay, gang. I think that's about it for today. What time is it? It's 4:20. It's 4:20. Let's see what we got. We have this other one I wanted to do, but the video's ass. The game theory one. We have one more game theory one, and then we have this one, which is provided the U.S. will lose the Iran war, which I guess we should do off stream. Current concurrent viewers 1. Average view duration 24. Okay, well, that's fine. You guys are foods anyway. All right, let's get into. Let me do this last piece of the thing, and then I'll do that Jiang video off stream because we won't be able to do it like that. All right. Let's see. What is the topic for today? What can you do if you say that I'm not game? Either weapons or $1 million ideas, bro. Sorry. Here we go. Avoid stupid people and stupid answers. I like that. Let's do the video about that. All right, let's conclude with that, guys. Alrighty, gang. Today's video, we are going to have a topic about stupid things. People that are stupid, stupid ideas, and stupid people. Avoid them at all costs, okay? Avoid them at all costs. That's what you want to do. You want to avoid people that are dumb and do not think, and you want to avoid stupid answers. Because if you do not avoid these things in your life, by proxy, you will end up being stupid. Even through association, even if one member of your group is known to be an idiot, a bombaclat, everybody else will associate you with being likewise. Birds of a feather flock together. So avoid people that are dumb. Because people that are stupid, they're not thinking. And most of the time, they're stupid only because they don't understand the ideas and the ideologies and your methodology that you have in place. And not everyone is supposed to understand it. When it comes to your vision, it is your vision, okay? It's your frequency, it's your ideas. So not everybody is going to be able to understand it. And for the most part, you don't want everyone to be able to understand it. You shouldn't be going around blabbing your ideas and ideologies to people that are not of sound mind. Okay? As it says in the Bible, it says, do not feed the pearls to the, what is it? Don't feed the pearls to the swine. Something like that. Quote me if I'm wrong. But essentially, do not feed this high consciousness level food to people that are not able to digest it. And you know the craziest thing? The craziest thing is that it's not friends and strangers that are going to rag on your ideas. Actually, those people are most likely going to actually big your ideas up. The people that are going to rag on your ideas are going to be your own family members. Your own family members, they are the ones that are going to rag on you because they know you the best. They know you the closest. They're the ones that are going to sit there and say, oh, why do you want to do that? Do you think you're really able to do that? I've known you for so long. Why would it make you think you could go around and turn around and be a mechanic? What made you think you could go into computer sciences and computer engineering? And so they will try to rag you down. But when they're trying to rag you down, this is somebody thinking very stupidly. They don't know the things that you've been able to do. You don't spend 24 hours a day with your parents or your family members. So this other pocket of your life where you've been able to think about these ideas and things that you want to do, they haven't been able to see it. And so now you have to try to convince this person about your ideas and the methods and the things that you're going to do and how you're going to accomplish your goals and how you're going to get. It's like, shut up. You don't owe anybody anything. All right. Stupid people, avoid them. And unfortunately, the people that are in your own family, like I'm saying, they're the ones that are most likely going to be against your own ideas, and they probably want to see your demise. And it's not because they're bad people. I used to think it was because people didn't want to see me succeed. No, or see you succeed. It has nothing to do with that. It's just because they want safety. When things are safe for their brood, think of it, take away the idea of humans being so advanced and complex. At the end of the day, the bottom line, humans are not that complicated, okay? They are very simple creatures. We like to complicate things, but we're very simple. When your parents are telling you no, they don't want you to do this, think of it like an amoeba or a fish, and their kid is going off to school. They want to protect their offspring at all costs. It's the most basic nature of things. When you break things down to its most basic nature, you will understand life a lot more, okay? Your mom doesn't want you to do these non-safe route because she wants to protect her offspring and have her next generation flourish. Men are looked at as superior, supreme beings when they're surrounded by women and have beautiful women in their life. If you're able to get lots of women, then by association, people will think, oh, this must be a very successful person. There must be something glorious about this person because he's able to breed. I'm telling you, you break everything down into just breeding, you will come to realize that most things in life are fucking stupid. And with that, I'll catch you guys in the next video. All right, guys, I think that ends today's stream. I'm a little bit tired. I could go. I could still go, but you know what? About half an hour. All right, let's do this Professor Jiang video, but it'll have to be off stream. All right, gang. I'll catch you guys later. Catch you guys tomorrow. Oh, actually, no, not tomorrow. I'll probably be doing an editing stream tomorrow because I'll have people, and because I gotta go somewhere on Friday, so I won't be able to do it. But and Saturday and Sunday I can't stream. So this is all we're working towards, getting our own place so we can stream every single day, guys. Every single day streaming. Okay. Anyway, I'll catch you guys on Monday, most likely, or maybe tomorrow if I do an editing stream. All right. Peace.